Hi, everybody. It's Mary Beckman from Metaphysical Meltdown. Yahoo! And today's guest is Marti Angeloni. We will be talking, well, she will be talking about remote viewing because everybody knows I'm not a remote viewer. And we couldn't hook up to Facebook to take questions today. So you are seeing us on YouTube right now. Sometimes it happens, lots of traffic. I'm just teasing everybody with my awesome, you know what, on the top of my hat. You never know why these things go down. So I'm just going to throw it right over to Marti. She's going to tell us about remote viewing, a subject that I know about a teacup full, but I do have one story about it. But there she is. Look, it's Marti Angeloni. Yay! There she is.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be able to talk about this subject. It's one that I have had an unexpected experience with, which thrust me into the throes of this whole remote viewing process. But I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to continue to learn about it, which is, you know, we all progress, we all continue to learn. So I'm also a student of remote viewing, and I am a huge believer in it. It's an amazing process. So, Mary, if you want to tell them your story, then I can explain what you just did.
I sure will. So I am just watching on my phone because I told people that they could go ahead and ask questions. So every once in a while we'll pop on with a question, of which I have a bunch in my pocket myself. But I went to a class a long time ago. I don't know if anybody out there knows this group. It's called Training in Power. Used to be called Power Training. This is a long time ago, back in the 90s. And I have two stories about that. So I went to that as one of the first few groups I ever went to learn about myself. First one, of course, is what used to be called EST, Earhart Training. Then it went to the Forum. Then it went to, I can't remember now what it's called, Landmark Forum. So I learned a lot of cool stuff back then. And I still remember some of the stuff I learned. The guy that was my teacher was an instructor at MIT. Forget what his job was there, but there he was at the training that I took. But anyway, power training, we were talking a bit about remote viewing. And I remember remote viewing my home from my home in West Seattle from the classroom underneath the bar or above the bar, I think it was, on Queen Anne. Oh, and cool. All I could see is I could see my partner vacuuming. And so could somebody else. And I went home and I said, so what were you doing while I was gone? Vacuuming. So I do know it works. It works in a different way, which is what Marti is going to explain. It's not exactly the psychic skill, other type of psychic skills that we use. So my awesome thing to tell you, though, is about my cousin. And I got the okay to tell the story. So Marti's a great remote viewer. I have one other friend who will remain nameless, who's just an awesome remote viewer. So what happened is my poor cousin lost her keys. She lost her keys to everything, car, house, everything. And she just couldn't find them. So I said, I will get some help because I have no idea where the keys are. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I asked my remote viewer friend, who said, close to the counter, in something beige. So sure enough, they were inside the beige chair. So that's pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah. And she says she can go to loved ones. She does it better with loved ones. But that was a step away, and she did great. She got right on there. It was really great. And I'm not saying this individual's name because I don't have the okay for that part of the story, and I never tell. I'm like Switzerland. I'm completely neutral. So the thing is, Marti, is I know that this is not like if I were to try to get in to look at your body to figure out something that was going on. It's not the same thing. It's a total skill in and of itself. So can you explain what remote viewing really is?
Yes. So remote viewing is something that, again, I'm learning more and more about it. There's probably about 6 different types of remote viewing that has evolved from the original remote viewing process that was done during the Stargate military project. So that actually was a process that started in the 70s. And was refined into the 80s. And I'm not a Stargate remote viewer. So let me just put that out here. This is just a history lesson that I have learned as I'm taking courses in remote viewing. The practice that I follow is the process and the protocols that they use in the Stargate military project, which is, it's pretty strict. It's not like somebody just saying, okay, now I'm seeing this. It's actually, there's double blind process. It's a double blind process that uses targets and beacons and all kinds of things to get you to be able to remote view something in almost like a pure state. And then those that have branched out from the Stargate military project and their process, which was started by Ingo Swann, I believe, that process has adapted itself to different types of remote viewing. So there's technical remote viewing, there's there's a generic remote viewing, there's controlled remote viewing, which is most like the military project's viewing, and that's the one I ascribe to. So yes, it is a process. The way that it works is the remote viewer is given a double blind target to look at. So double blind means that there is somebody that is basically the tasker, and this person needs to be a professional tasker. It can't be just a best friend or somebody that, you know, it really needs to be somebody that understands how to do remote viewing. And so their task is to take information that is given to them by somebody else to the remote viewer. So for example, let's say we're looking at the Eiffel Tower. Somebody would say, okay, the beacon is going to be, or the target is the Eiffel Tower. They will take a picture of that or write down the longitude and latitude or something like that, put it in an envelope, give it to another person, who then takes it and gives it to another person, and who is the tasker, and the tasker will take it to the person in the United States and say, okay, here you go. We want you to look at what's in envelope A and tell us what that is. And so the remote viewer has no idea what the target is. They just know there is a target.
Right.
They don't know, the tasker doesn't know. It really truly is double blind. And then the process is to go into a very meditative state and to get into the subliminal part of your mind that will allow you to get impressions. And again, even this, it has 6 stages that you can go through as you're doing your remote. So you might get the initial, and the first stage is really just receiving, hey, we've got this, it's in envelope A. Then the second stage would be your sensory. So what you would feel, smell, taste. Psychics are familiar with this. So it's all of the clairs basically that you're pulling in to recognize what that target is. Then you move into stage 3, and at stage 3 you get more detail. So you might see an actual structure, you might get dimensions on it, that kind of thing. Stage 4, it goes even deeper than that. Stage 5 is just a download. And when you get to stage 6, if you go that far, you actually have a 3D image of what you're looking at remotely. And people, back then, they would use like clay and model. So somebody would literally create out of clay the Eiffel Tower. So this process was used by the military during the Cold War. They were called, these are people that have no psychic background. They are military people, decorated military people. And I heard one of the original viewers say that they really liked the grunts in the Army because they were so fresh. They had no idea what they were doing.
Oh, sure.
So there's no training at all. These people just would walk in, they would put them in a closed room that had no windows or doors, no sensory anything going on, so that they could go straight to their stillness and view. And they were most successful with those types of individuals. So as they sat in this room and they were able to remote view, they were actually given targets that were different locations. They were spying on the Russians. Okay, so they were able to find, they were able to find a submarine. They were able to find some POWs. They were able to locate military intel stuff, like armaments and that kind of thing. And and it's really amazing to read. Like, it's stuff that you would think is in, well, they did create a movie, but I don't think it's the same one, but it's stuff of the movies. Like, it's amazing historical stuff that they did. So that process is now, the team was disbanded, I think in the 90s, and supposedly disbanded. I personally don't believe it's over.
Allegedly.
Yeah. I tend to believe that probably it's going, but we won't know about it. But they did so many amazing things, and the people that are notorious that were involved in that original group of remote viewers for the Army and the CIA was the other part of it. And so so that's what they did. I am very married to the concept of doing this the way they did it during Stargate. So my process is probably different than if you were to sit with a psychic and say, I'm missing my cat. Can you find it? And then have the psychic go internal and tell you. I don't do it that way. I think it's important to identify how each person wants to do remote viewing if they choose to do it. But I think as you decide to do that, to credit yourself, it's worth studying what they did during Stargate, so you understand where it came from. It's like the genesis of the gift itself, if that makes sense.
I remember a long time ago reading a book. I've been trying to think of what the guy's name. I'm pretty sure it's not Ingo Swann, because when you said his name, I've heard that name a bunch. But the book I read maybe a year ago was by John Vivanco, that happened to be teaching a class at the Isetti Ranch one of the 2 times I was there. So I got to say hi to that gentleman. And what's interesting about his book is he talks about, as he progresses, and I think he still does it, maybe because I saw him on Ancient Aliens the other night. Who knows how old that show was, but I just happened to be, I thought, well, there's that guy I met. But at any rate, he was talking about after getting into it, he would see the beings. There would be beings that would come and talk to him, which I thought was so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know they tried to get into going outside of, I think it was Ingo Swann, and so this may be incorrect, and I apologize if I'm misspeaking, but one of the original remote viewers, I believe is Ingo Swann, was asked to view planets. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the first to see the rings or the moons around one of the planets. And scientists did not believe it at that time because they had not been able to see it with the telescope. But in later years, they were able to see that he was actually absolutely right, that they did discover the extra moon or the rings or whatever it was around this planet.
Well, so there's all kinds of stuff out there that, people that are looking through their third eye can discern. And now there's photos of the planets that are in a different dimension that you can actually see now right around us and out there. So we're going to be excited. Those of us who love to look up are going to be excited in the future when we can see what's really out there.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
So can you just tell us the difference? What is really the difference between how because the other thing you do is you're a very talented psychic, you're an awesome medium, you are a, when you look in the physical body, what do you call yourself? A
medical intuitive healer.
Medical intuitive. Sorry.
I'm an RN, so I got one step up.
Exactly. She's got a lot of skills, and that one that went right out of my head. So what is the difference between the other things you practice and when you are a remote viewer? You're saying you've got a task, you have this way, but it really seriously is not. Okay, let me back up, kids. The other day, Tom and I were playing around with this. He did a great job on it. Absolutely. Because what I try to do is I try to remote view with my psychic stuff and overthink it. So if you were to teach me how to, as a psychic and all the other stuff we mentioned there, how would you teach me to do it?
I think you nailed it on the head. So Tom was really good at that because Tom doesn't use the other skills and you do. So I would tell you to take that psychic hat off and just clear your mind. But the reason that remote viewing is so different in my experience is because of the protocols that are used. Mm-hmm. So again, the double blind. When you sit with somebody and they say, I'm missing my cat, George, and he's yellow, and he was last seen, at the neighbor's house. Can you find him? That's too much information. The target's been compromised. So you are psychically looking for a cat. You're psychically looking for, the neighbor's house or whatever it is you're looking for. And so your ability to receive remote viewing information has been compromised. The thing that was impressive with the protocols that they did, especially when they were looking at, for specific targets, say, the submarine, is there were about 5 or 6 people in the room. None of them had, a lot of them didn't have experience. A lot of them had been professional, trained by Ingo Swann and that group to do this, but they're in the room and each of them are drawing what they're seeing or making notes. I do a lot of art and I'm not an artist, so it's really terrible. So I do drawing, and that's what they were doing, where they would be sculpting, with clay or whatever material they could get their hands on, and they would create what they're seeing. Well, it's like looking at the elephant. Remember the story of the blind Chinese man that looked at the elephant? And one person had the trunk and he said, oh, an elephant looks like a snake, or whatever that was. The other has leg, and they said, the elephant is a log on a tree. The other had the tail. I think the tail was the snake, right? Okay. Again, the ear is the fan. No, it's a big fan. So each one of them had their perception of the target. And the same thing happened with remote viewing. In the group, they would take 6 different versions of that target into another room, and very expertise individuals would take those pieces of what they had drawn or sculpted or described, put it together, and they could identify a location. So when I do remote viewing teaching in a group or a seminar, a lot of times what I'll do is we'll do the double blind. I'll give them, here's the envelope, and it's always just 1, 2, 3, something like that. And I don't know what's in there. They don't know what's in there. It is very blind. So they will draw, the students will draw or do whatever they're going to do. And granted, I'm not, an official teacher. This is just when I do seminars and teaching. So anyway, they would draw what they're doing. Well, it's the same thing happens. Somebody would draw one side of a house, another would draw a field. Somebody else might draw a lake, and then somebody else might draw a flagpole. And so people that would be experienced would take each one of those pictures and put them together, and it would be like an aerial Google shot or GPS shot, where you can look down and go, oh yeah, there's some guy's farmhouse, and there's the lake, and there's his flagpole. And they could identify the location because of all 3 things or 4 things or whatever it was. So that's different than just sitting with a psychic who closes their eyes and goes into stillness and sees it. So it's really the process. It's the policy of how it happened. Yeah.
It's fabulous. So many things came up on that. That is why I am so thankful to be a part of the community that I am in, because if I have a really big question that I can't figure out, or I can feel that there's so many parts, I just call 2 or 3 people, and we all chime in with a piece, and we get the picture, and we can give the picture over, because depending on how we look at something will be a level of, if I want to find somebody's cat, I just go to the cat. Where are you, dude? What can you see out of your eyeballs? People call me all the time, my cat's missing. And so I go to the cat, and a couple times now, I have seen the cat watching the owner walk back and forth. So all I can see out of my eyes, which becomes the cat's eyes, are their ankles. And I'll say, your cat's in the house. It keeps watching you walking back and forth. So it's a whole.
So a remote viewer would take that very same thing, not knowing it's a cat, not knowing anything except it's number 1, we're looking for something, right? And then the person who had asked the remote buyer obviously knew it's a cat. So the remote viewer, it might see an ironing board, or it might see a clock, or it might see a sofa, or it might see the outside of a house. You just, it could be all these different things. And then the person receiving the information should be able to put it together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You can't see the full picture if you've only got 2 pieces. So it's all of these different views remotely done with no information, so it's genuine, that goes together to create the bigger picture that will help you see. Yeah. So for example, I'll tell you, if I can I do this? Tell the story?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when this happened to me. It truly was, it was like a quadruple blind study, because what happened was I was awakened at 4:44 a.m. on 3 separate nights. And I woke up, looked at the clock, I thought, well, that's unusual. But then, I see 11:11 all the time, or 2:22. And that's, we all do stuff like that. So I thought, okay, whatever. I was in the subliminal state where, it's the, what is it called? Lucid dreaming state, and just slipping into my subconscious. And I saw some images. There were 3 images that flashed in front of me. One of them was, and I can't assign labels to it, so I'm going to describe it, because that's another thing that remote viewers do, is there's no labeling. There's no saying it's a piece of, it's a rock, or it's a baseball diamond, right? So instead I saw what looked like rock-like material in the shape of a tombstone. I didn't call it a grave. I didn't call it a tombstone. And I don't know why I didn't do it this way. I really felt like I was being prompted to record my information this way. So I saw that. I saw what looked like branches of a tree coming over the top. I did not call it a tree. I just drew these pictures. The next thing I saw was what looked like a glass countertop, and money, blue money, what looked like blue money. It was blue pieces of paper this big, just squares of blue, being pushed across the counter to another. It looked like an individual standing there. All right. So I just described that. The third thing I saw was, and this was a face. It was a little boy. He was black, and he was laughing and looking up this way. And he had what to me looked like a head trauma, abrasion across his head. So I drew all of those things without saying, this is what I saw. I just drew the picture. Second night, there was more. Third night, there was even more. And one of them was, it looked like little legs sticking out and a spider come running up toward him. Another one was, again, the baseball diamond. It wasn't a baseball diamond. It was green grassy in the shape of a diamond. But I never called it a baseball diamond. I said, I drew the picture, put an arrow there that said, it looks green. It looks like grass. You just kind of describe what it looks like in best terms, but no labels. Well, a couple of different remote viewers got in touch with me and said, you need to put this out there and just see what happens. And so I did. And a lady from Africa contacted me and says, I think you're talking about a missing person that's going on here in Africa. So their police sergeant got a hold of me, or their police officer, whatever their top police person is, the captain, got in touch with me, wanted to know how I had information that they had not yet released to the public. So that was a little tricky, trying to explain to her, no, I'm out here in Seattle. I don't want to go to Africa. I really have no interest in that country. I've never seen a giraffe in my life except in a zoo, all of those things. And so she believed me and asked if there was anything else. And we did a little bit more remote viewing for her, all of which, again, I would not label. Just gave her the images, and she pieced them together like a jigsaw into the details of this missing child. In fact, everything fit. The place they were looking actually had a diamond-shaped grass area that was a spider refuge.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so that got my attention. And again, it was 3 nights in a row. I really believe it was a wake-up call. At that point, I started investigating and doing this. And I'm now taking courses from Paul Smith, who is one of the original Stargate viewers, because I want to stay in that process. I really want to keep the process pure and following that protocol. And I was supposed to go in April to do an intensive week-long course with him, but because of the COVID thing, it's been postponed. But I'm doing, these other courses. He's got a digital course that I've taken, and I'm reading his book. And so we've communicated, hopefully we'll get that intensive course. But yeah, it's amazing. And I'm a member of the International Remote Viewing Association, which has a lot of great information. If anybody's interested, it's IRVA, I think .org, but I'm not positive. It's .something.
Okay. Yeah, people can look that up.
Yeah.
What I love about what you said is it can also translate over in just being a psychic. Let's just say someone comes to one of us and wants to tell the story, because sometimes we have people who've been traumatized and they want to tell us every detail, they want to talk. I know most of us will say, please don't talk, please don't, because we don't want any information,
Right.
because we don't want to corrupt what we're getting. Because if we begin to go down one road, because the human in front of us only knows one thing, they know their dog's missing, and they'll tell us everything about Fluffy, but we don't want to know anything about Fluffy. But I've also sat and I've listened to people before. I've listened at fairs over the years, and I've been doing this now for 17, 18 years. I have listened to people tell the whole entire story to folks and then get support on it, but not one little bit of psychic evidence, because they told their own story, and that psychic didn't have
Well,
kind of heartbreaking, actually.
it is. So whenever I have somebody that comes to me and wants remote viewing, the most ideal way is for them to basically contact me either, in one of the stores that I'm at, or even, through my website or email or text, and just say, hey, I'd like a remote viewing session. I don't want to know any more than that. Just tell me when. We'll set it up. The next step is for them to take a picture of whatever's missing, if it's a missing thing, or a picture of a location, or they can just write down on a piece of paper, like if it's a cat, the word my cat, or the cat's name, or they can write the latitude and longitude if they want on a piece of paper, however they want to identify to themselves what it is that's going to be viewed. That's the target. Then they slip that inside a manila envelope or any kind of envelope, it doesn't matter. Write a number on the outside of it, and then hold it up or take a picture of it and send it to me. I don't want to know anything. And then I will, on my own time, when I can really get deep, do the remote viewing session. I draw pictures, I give them the pictures, all the information goes to them. When there is random remote viewing, I put it on my website, which is martirnadvisor.com, and you can look under the tabs Insight. I've had things come that I did not anticipate. They just came, and they were remote viewing. This was not a target. So it kind of falls a little bit out of that protocol, but it does fit with what you're saying about psychic. And they were called psychic spies back in the 70s. So it's okay. Yeah. So when that happens, I post all of the detail that I can describe. I put pictures, everything on my website. And then people can go on to the insights and read them and see if anything fits. I actually have had people say, oh my gosh, yeah, that belongs to me. So, and they identify everything in there, and I'm like, okay, it's yours, God bless. So
awesome. That's cool, because you just answered a couple questions. That's great. Because
what were they?
The question was, what do you need from us during a session to strengthen the connection? So you just did that one. When connecting, what is the funniest thing you've ever had happen? After you tell yours, I'll tell mine.
When connecting, I don't think I've really had anything funny. Actually, I think it's been jolting is more, because I haven't had anything that I consider humorous. I guess it's because my state of mind is I'm really drilled down on what it is I'm supposed to see. But I have seen things that have been a little bit, whoa, unsettling, And so here's another piece, right? I guess this would be the final process in any remote viewing, is to receive validation. So it's really important, if you are receiving a remote viewing session from anybody, that you get back with them and say, hey, yeah, you're right on, or hey, I don't even know what you were talking about, because that had nothing to do with what was in the envelope. And that happens. A 60% accuracy is considered excellent remote viewing. But that's, again, because I might be looking at one corner of a room instead of looking at wherever this target was in the bathroom right next door, right? Yeah. So to answer the first question, what I need from you is just what I said. Put it on paper, take a picture, whatever, put it in an envelope, contact me, say, hey, here, I've got a target for you. Send me a picture of that envelope with a number on the outside of it, because I do get a lot of them. So it's nice to have the number, and I can say, oh yeah, this is number 1 GB, meaning, Gerard Butler or somebody, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? And then I can, you know, identify it back to whomever it belonged to, and we can go forward. But the other thing is that I need is validation. Validation. So I've seen things that have been, I've seen, I don't even know how to say it. The most unsettling thing that I saw was a murder family, a family murdered. And it was, yeah, it was not comfortable. It was not good. And I put it on the website. I mean, if anybody wants to read that kind of stuff, I don't know who it belongs to. I don't know. I haven't heard anything back from anybody yet on this. It's been a few months, but that was not something that was sought. It came to me the same way that the little missing kid did. Yeah. So maybe I'm not meant to find funny things, probably because I laugh all the time inappropriately anyway.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'll tell mine. This was okay. Different. I had a room full of folks and the question came up, oh gosh, was it, do I have any attachments? So I was going through the room doing what, you know, I normally do, just checking them out. Yeah, you have this, we have this, there's this, you know, people attaching, whatever, somebody hanging on you, you have a negative entity, whatever. I get over here to the lady on my left, and the guide in the back, when I went to that person, said, they wouldn't dare. And so I said that and the whole room busted up because I guess the one on the left was a real badass.
Oh,
it made me laugh though, because I was like, wow, they even say that kind of stuff. But no, my little teeny story was Tom lost his keys and he lost them good. We looked for him all over the place. And this is when we had the 2 pugs. So the 2 pugs had lots of toys and they'd carry them around and drop them. And we were, you know, there was a lot going on that week. And so over on the very side of the bedroom were a few toys in a pile, and that just sat there for that week. So finally I thought, I cannot come up with the keys. Where are the keys? So I put it on Facebook. I said, oh my goodness, you guys, where are Tom's keys? And like 8 people chimed in, and we put all of those things together, including my information, and the keys were underneath that pile of toys. And what it turned out to be was Tom was getting really activated right there, and his guides had helped some things happen to make that, you know.
Well, that's a perfect example, because yes. You don't have to have any special gifts to remote view. In fact, everybody on this planet can remote view, but it's like anything else. If you want to play the piano, you can sit down and teach yourself how to pound out sounds on, you know, tunes on a piano. If you want to learn how to really play well, you want to take lessons and learn how to do that, right? But everybody can sit at the piano. So everyone can do remote viewing, and with a little bit of teaching or instruction or mentoring, coursework, depends upon how far you want to get into it. It's up to you. You can learn how to do remote viewing, but you absolutely can sit at the piano. So when you put it out there to everybody, what happened was somebody may see a ball, somebody may see, you know, a pool toy, somebody may see a chewy bone, right? And on a normal day, you would go, what the heck are they talking about, right? But when you put them all together like a jigsaw, then you have a full picture of a pile of toys. That's a perfect example, Mary. Really a good one. Yeah.
It was just the greatest thing, because that summer, Tom had thing after thing happen to him. His guides were saying, we're here undoubtedly. Pay attention. Thing after thing. So that was
I think what's really cool too is, I just had flight of thought.
That's okay. I'm looking for questions, so you just go ahead and think.
Okay, I was going to say something and I completely lost it. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So one of the identifying things about remote viewing, and it doesn't necessarily mean this is the only way, because there never is only one way to anything. But one of the real good identifying pieces when people ask me, well, how do I know if it's remote viewing versus how do I know it's psychic, like you were saying, is remote viewing tends to be a flash. It's like somebody doing a slideshow. And most of the time the image is not clear. It's fuzzy. It can be almost like faded, as can be like this picture, right? Kind of faded out. You kind of have to pay attention to what you think you saw, but it goes quickly. In fact, my remote viewing sessions did not come in color except for a couple of images, the blue what I thought was money. I don't know if it was or not. Africa has blue $100 bills. I found out that was my validation. So that fit. The other was the green diamond, but everything else was in this color, this muted brown. And it reminded me of a washed out slide. So it'll go fast, boom, 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 boom. And it's the remote viewer's job. And this is where practice comes in, to pay attention to what you're seeing. If it's multiple images, if it's one image, you may only see this, but it'll usually be pretty quick.
Yes.
And it's not clear. It's not, in fact, most remote viewing images, if they're clear, I would say you're probably doing more psychic tapping into it than you are doing remote viewing. If that makes sense.
That is a good tip. I think
that did not come from me. That comes from the experts that are way smarter than me that have done this for the military. Yeah.
Well, what we have to understand too, as people that assist folks that come up to ask us a question about whatever it might be, is that we can't worry about looking dumb. We have to just say what we get, because it doesn't actually make any sense. I might see a blue flag and a rooster. And if I overthink it and think, boy, I really don't want to look dumb and say blue flag and rooster. But once you say that, the person goes, oh, well, the guy I'm looking for was from this country and he raised roosters or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
So we have to just, I love looking dumb all the time. I look dumb all the time. And I love that because you know what that means? It means I'm putting myself out there to learn something new. Right.
Right. And I think if people that come for remote viewing, a remote viewing session with anybody, with me especially, if they can understand that I am just a tool. All I am doing is receiving, recording what I've received, and then I pass it on to someone way smarter than me to figure out what it means, right? So in the case of the missing kid in Africa, I had no idea what any of this meant. In fact, it made no sense, and I was almost embarrassed to describe what I saw, right? But I received it, I recorded it, and I gave it off to the captain of that police department there. And they were able to identify the location. In fact, my location artwork matched exactly theirs. And I have pictures of them. If anybody ever wants to see them, when I do my seminars at the ghost conferences and stuff and other places, I do the comparison pictures of the actual location with what I drew. And it's pretty fascinating to see. I've been there.
I think it is fascinating. I remember a reading you gave me on the panel one time, and the panel readings are very small. It just goes on top of an envelope, and she's drawn pictures over here, and she's completely describing a young man that is a guide for me that comes in every once in a while when it's a young person or anybody who has died abruptly or somebody has some drug problem. He'll come in. And he's somebody very special to me, and I've known since he was a little kid. Marty is describing him. He had this kind of a car. He wore this kind of a jacket. And these are things I do not know until I call somebody and say, and of course, all of that was right. So you never know. Okay, so somebody wants to know, how can we help to strengthen our connections to our guidance or familiars?
Okay, that's a different question than remote viewing. So my opinion to do that, if you want to strengthen your connection with any of the divine that is there for you in your life, you got to listen to them. You got to believe they're there. You got to listen. You got to pay attention to what they say and don't doubt. And the more you listen, it's like learning a foreign language. When you start listening to a different way of communication, which is how spirit speaks to us, right? You begin to understand more and more, and they become closer to you, right? So if I were to speak Chinese to Mary, I don't think you speak Chinese, but if I were to speak Chinese, I think she would probably lean in and listen a little harder and go, okay, say that again. And eventually we would be able to communicate easier. But that's how you draw closer. If you have a friend, let's say, who is you're giving advice to, let's say you're in the position of being the advisor or the guide, right? If you're guiding someone in this life to do something, say you're guiding them to learn how to knit or how to ski, okay? and you're trying to teach them how to get down the mountain in a particular type of snow. If they don't listen to you and they ignore what you're saying enough times, or they disregard everything you have said to them, pretty soon you're going to step back and go, well, I guess they'll do it on their own. They don't need me. And then you'll still be there. It's not like you're going to leave, but the conversation kind of dies out. So I believe it's really important that you keep those communication lines open. You learn how to speak their language, and you be aware of what coincidences or symbols come to you, whatever it is, and you be aware of it. And I think a lot of that, again, it goes back to record, receive, and then release it. So put it into a notebook and hold on to it. One day it'll have meaning to you if it doesn't today. I hope that answered the question.
It did. It answered it beautifully, because spirit speaks in symbols. Sometimes if hearing is your best skill, you might hear, if your guide is just this close to saying, come on, I've been giving you everything but the kitchen sink, you blankety blank, they'll just shout it at you. So don't make it go to that level. Go ahead and listen to them when they're giving you symbols and they're giving you words and they're giving you 11:11 on the clock. And, you know, there's just so many ways spirit speaks. So, you know, trust Marti when she says, write it down in a notebook. They want to hear from us. And so you do a lot of different things. I thought that question was a great segue into the next stuff that you that you do. Can you tell people, since this is going on YouTube, some of the other things that you do?
Well, I do. I'm not a legal counselor, certified counselor, although I am going to school. I'm going to university, the metaphysical sciences, to get my my degree, my PhD, to be a licensed metaphysical counselor. So I will be doing that officially. But really what I do is I sit with people and kind of walk them through whatever their question is. Like the first thing when anybody comes in and sits down with me, I ask them, what is it you would like to talk about today? All of us are kind of dealing with the same stuff. I mean, it's different scenarios and has a different background, but you know, we all are going through it. And so we walk through that. I have Lenormand cards that I use if somebody's interested in getting that kind of a reading. I am trying really hard always to listen to what's there. I believe those on the other side want to talk to us. And just like on our telephones, we have ringtones for certain people. It's the same thing with the other side of the veil. So I will feel tingling on one side of my head, or something will come through. That's usually my big one, is I'll feel it. It's on this side too, on the right side. I'll feel tingling come through, and that's when I know I need to shut my mouth and listen, because somebody from the other side of the veil is coming through. So I pay close attention, and when I listen, I don't always hear it as you hear Mary and I talking, but I will hear it it's an interruption of my thought. Always an interruption of thought. When that happens, I know this is coming from somewhere else. Sometimes I do hear it audible, just like Mary has talked about. And you're kind of like, whoa, because I haven't been listening for the ringtone. Right. So I'll do that with people, but a lot of it's just guidance. That's why my name is advisor, is because I do a lot of guidance and advising with people regarding their life and their spirituality. And then I also, with my background as an RN, I use that to do Reiki healing, and I'm a Reiki master. And so I do Reiki healing with people. I use it a little bit differently than a lot of people do. Still the same methodology as the ancient Reiki, but I add a little bit of my experience having worked in the medical field for so many years. So that comes into play, and it's just kind of this well-rounded wellness approach to everything. And then there's remote viewing.
Well, you just described being an Aquarius really well, because you're interested in a wide range of stuff. And it all makes us happy, doesn't it? I'm an Aquarius too. So it makes me happy to just kind of delve in all kinds of all the woo, you know, there's a lot of woo, and some of it's good woo. And we like to do a lot of it. So the other thing though, is you're a writer. Can you talk about that for just 1 minute?
Yeah. So I have written a book that, well, it's over across the room. It's called So How Do I Know This Is Real? And it's It's a book that describes all of the different spiritual gifts that people receive, and how do you know that they're really real from spirit versus your own imagination. So we talk about that. It's a super easy read. It's meant to be on a beginner level, although I will go back and read it and go, wow, I can't even believe I wrote that. Well, I didn't. I channeled it.
Mhm.
So that is the other thing I do, is I counsel and work with people, not counsel, sorry, I mentor and
Mhm.
work with people as they write. So I do channeling for writers. I teach that. The books that I have written under my pen name, Marti Melville, are pirate books. And I've written a paranormal book that's kind of a supernatural thriller based on history in Savannah. And then I have children's books. So I have a lot of pen names. I have a lot of genres. And I'm very much an Aquarius. I think truly, I think when you pay attention to what Spirit's sending you out there, you all of a sudden start discovering all these things that you're supposed to be doing.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Like, I think, and then if you pay attention to that even further, they tell you how to do it. And
Yep.
then if you pay attention even further, they actually literally give it to you, and all you have to do is just receive, record, and release it. It's perfect.
That is, I think, the best thing that you said at all today. You said so many great things, but that has to be the best, is that if we get out of our own way, they're so ready to help us. They love us so much. Just get out of our own way, and it's just going to be right there. But before we go, though, I have to ask you, what's your favorite thing? We all have a favorite thing that we do. What is it?
I'm an Aquarius. I don't have a favorite thing. Um, Honestly, this is truly my MO. It was this way back when I worked in the ER for gosh, it's been more than 20 years. Anyway, and prior to that, I was a dancer. I used to dance professionally, and it was nice dancing, not any of that what your heads have.
That's okay. That's good too.
Yeah, no, I have always wanted people to feel better after having been with me than when they walked in.
Oh yeah.
So my goal in the ER, even though they came in terrible distress. Anybody that goes into an ER is not in a good place. When they leave, even if they leave to go to the other side of the veil, my goal was that they were in a better place than when they were with me. So that was when they first walked in. And it was because I had done something to help ease them. So when people come in for reading or for remote viewing or for healings or whatever, working on their books or any of that kind of thing, my goal is to have them leave our time together feeling better about themselves than when they walked in. So that's my favorite thing, is when that happens.
And you do that really, really well. You do. And we don't know who we've been with each other. We don't know if we've been sisters or moms of kids. We don't know, because we've been around the rose bush, as I like to term it, a lot. But I remember when I first met you, I saw you and I went, that is my friend.
I felt the same way.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I called a friend of mine the other day and I said, have you ever been my mother? And she said, we've been many things. And I said, I need you to be my mother for a minute. She said, oh, honey, tell me, just so naturally. She said, honey, tell me. And I told her my thing, because as an Aquarius, we like to talk about other people's emotions and other people's issues, not necessarily about ours. But when we're ready to talk, thank God for people who are there to listen. And I am so thankful for you. So I want to end this by saying the first thing we had today on the questions was actually a thank you to you.
Oh,
okay.
Sweet.
So I'm thanking you from somebody that you helped, and you can go back to the questions and look. And that's a thing about being part of Hands of Light, which I talk about each time, is that it's a Facebook page, Hands of Light, that Ann Mukherjee and I created to hold people in really in love and peace. And the best thing I like about that is, man, when somebody's got trouble, there's 80 people that pop on and say, oh, I'll help, yeah, And that's what this community is about. The community is about a whole bunch of helpful people. So what did Marti just say? When you leave me, I want you to feel as though I helped. And that's...
Well, and Mary, this happened with me last week. Like, I feel the same way. I was able to call Mary when I was having a rough day and basically say, I need you to be honest with me about something. And I knew that I could trust that she would be honest, but she would be gentle with my heart and my soul. So sometimes, you know, there's always somebody in your life that you can trust and that you can feel safe with, safe that they will guard those things that are most sacred to you and that are most tender to you. And Mary's that to me. So I was able to call her, and of course, the first thing she said, well, where do you think this came from? So it forced me to go back and actually become a better version of myself. So that is invaluable. And I feel the same way about you, Mary. I really love you and appreciate everything about you. And just keep that phone available.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to point out in the last moments here is that's what, you know, overall as whatever you want to call us, you know, psychics or flashlights or whatever you want to call us, is that we know lots of stuff about people, and most of us instantly forget it because we're not meant to hold on to your issue. We're just not meant to. And we aren't going to talk about your issue. So wherever this video goes, find someone in your community or call Marti or whatever, however you can feel better. Please do. It's a hard time right now. So please to reach out. Jump on Hands of Light. We'll hold you. So how can people find you, my dear? What's your last thing? My friend texted me and said, you didn't ask Derek to say the final thought. And I want to remember, what's your final thought, babe?
My final thought, I think my final thought is trust. Trust in yourself. Pay attention. Trust that there's information on the other side. And if you're one of the people that sit back and say, I have no gifts, I would have said that also probably 20 years ago. And now that I look back, I can go, oh my gosh, I really did. I was just ignoring everything. Well, remote viewing, you don't need to have any gifts. This is an absolute, anybody can do it. So trust yourself. Trust that there's a higher purpose and a higher plan for you, and tap into that, because it changes your life. It becomes a very rewarding thing. And then that will guide you to friends like Mary, friends that you can trust and that will benefit and bless your life for the time. So people can reach me through my website, which is Marti, MARTIRN advisor.com. You can email me at the same MARTIRN@gmail.com. Or I have Facebook pages. You can always reach out on any of my Facebook pages. Marti Angeloni, I think it's Marti Angeloni. I can't even remember how I got it listed.
Remember any of your names.
I want to say that it's Marti Angeloni advisor, but I don't think that's right. Give me 1 second. It is.
Take your time.
It is Marti M. Angeloni. I was right.
Okay.
Angeloni is like macaroni, but with an A. So anytime, or if you can't find me, grab Mary and then she'll guide you to me. But yeah, I'm available to talk to anybody that just wants an ear, a shoulder.
Very good. Very good. I had a question. This was a personal friend of mine that just wrote me a question just now. And she said, when things shake out a little bit, do you think the world's going to be a better place?
That's
exactly
a loaded
how she put it. Cogitate on that for a minute while I read it.
Okay.
Yeah, she put it was, do you know if the world will become a better place after this is over? Very interesting. There's a lot in that.
That's a loaded question. So
yep.
I'm not going to go deep on it because I would have to sit with it and meditate on that answer to truly get what I feel comfortable saying. But I'll tell you what my gut feeling is, right? My gut feeling is that the glass has always got something in it. So it may not be half full, but there's still something in it. So on the other side of this, yes, there are going to be good people. It's like what who said it? It was Mr. Rogers.
Okay, let's
Mr. Rogers. His mother used to tell him when there were crises, look for the helpers. There's always helpers. So it may seem bleak, it may seem dark, it may seem chaotic. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same. I know it's not going to be the same world as it was just 4 months ago. No, 5 months ago. No. But that is part of the evolution, part of the process that needs to happen with humanity and with the earth and with everything that's going on. So again, I believe it's our responsibility to trust that these things are happening for a reason. There is something still in the glass. There's something every day to find joy over, and that may be the piece that's in the glass. It has absolutely been gorgeous outside. Sunny, beautiful, the flowers are coming out. There's my glass half full. And if we can trust and have faith in that, the energy shifts. And then, yes, I believe there will be a better world. I think there's a better world right now. We just have to look for it and recognize it.
Yes, I want to be that person that always looks for the better world. You know?
Look for the helpers. Watch for the helpers.
Thanks,
I
Mrs.
want to be a helper.
Marty Rogers. Another one of your names. Well, bless you so much, my friend, for coming on. And as always, I love you and I honor you. And I know there's so many things that it would be great to talk to you about. So I hope you'll be my guest again here on Metaphysical Meltdown. In fact, Tom was trying to find me a new name and he said, well, how about that metapharsical? It's just too funny. My goal is to be up above metaphysical milkshake, which is actually a thing.
I don't know. That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. But everybody, the reason why I'm segueing into this is please, if you like it, if you share it, subscribe. And we want to just get people to watch because there are some amazingly cool people that I will be interviewing that you guys don't even know. I kind of decided I'm going to share the week's worth of people. And today's Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Isn't today Wednesday? Okay, so tomorrow, I was looking for a rock guy, and some rock guys are busy right now, and I thought to myself, I'm a rock guy.
Yes,
so
you are.
Yes, ma'am. I'm presenting on rocks tomorrow, so tune in, everybody. Okay, love you. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Tomorrow is a better day. We love you.